Hey guys, it's Dr. Cree and welcome to the latest edition of the Dr. Cree and Me show. We are so happy that you joined us today. We're going to be talking about depression and grief during the coronavirus times. That's going to be our topic for today. So come on in, feel free to join us. Share the post, tag your friends, tell them to come on. We're getting ready to start the show live. Hey, Darlene. So welcome everybody. We're going to get started with the latest edition of the Dr. Cree and Me show. I am going to, let's share it to my pages. Y'all share it as well. And let's get to talking about this thing, guys, okay? Hey, Miranda. All right. Hey, Natalia. So grief has been a big thing here lately, guys, right? So let me get this shared out, get the word out. I'm joining. Okay. All right. You know who I am. I am Dr. Cree. I'm your board certified family medicine physician, and I specialize in helping everyday overwhelmed, overworked, everyday people learn more about health care as it pertains to everyday current events and as it pertains to their life. And it's my job to educate you more so that you can feel like you are empowered. So when you know more, you can do more. All right, you know better, you can do better. So thank you for joining us. Let me know where you're watching from. And today's gonna be kind of a hard topic. Hey, Queez, a hard topic. We're gonna talk about depression and grief during coronavirus. So a lot of you guys know that they've made a lot of changes to funerals. The number that can be up under, hey Press, hey Rod, the number of people that can be under the actual tent. First of all, they've taken funerals out of the church, right? So a lot of people not having funerals in a church. A lot of funeral home directors are requiring that you have the funerals. Either some of them are having them in the parking lots of the funeral homes, and then they're going directly to the graveyard, and then they're doing have the preachers to do a very quick, inspirational word, maybe one song, one prayer, and then the committal. So then they commit them. Everybody's in their mask, and it's supposed to be about 10 people under the tent. However, I have heard the rumors of people saying, well, I can't get down there to the tent, so we're going to go park outside of the graveyard, and we're going to just wait so that people can see that you're supported, that kind of thing. So if you're in your car waiting, that's okay. But if you're all out the car and you don't have your mask on, you could be putting yourself and others at risk if that's what you are doing. Okay, so if you're going to go support your family members from afar, do it from the car. Okay, so Apostle Huey said 30 minutes for the whole service. So yeah, I thought it was like 15 to 30 minutes. So 30 minutes total, you got to be in there and out of there. Okay, so during this time, a lot of people are experiencing a lot of deaths. So we've seen here in Alabama, there was a family in Gaston, and they had like 9 of their family members had tested positive for coronavirus, and several of them had died. So we're talking about things that are affecting families, like groups of people, not like, oh, a mom just died, we got time to get over that. So we've seen stories where a wife lost her husband and her son within a week. We've seen stories where a mom died and then 3 of her kids died in New York. So this is becoming a new normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying to figure out what the new normal is, and how do we grieve? How do we deal with our emotions during this time? So let's first talk about depression. So depression, runs rampant now as it is pre-coronavirus. Just think about how much worse depression is now, where you have people that can't get out. They can't, they're not out walking. They're not out being with their family and friends. They're not out having their weekly bridge game. They're not out doing the fun things that they actually had been doing because they're afraid. They're nervous. They're worried. So you have all of these emotions stacked on top of each other. And if you're not careful, you can have some depression. So the first sign of depression can be, are you having problems with sleep? So somebody write in the chat, sleep is affected. You're either sleeping way too much or you're sleeping way little. Okay? So if you're like, I'm off work, I've been off work for 6 weeks, and all I want to do is sleep all night. I'm getting 10 hours of sleep at night. I'm getting 6 hours of sleep in the daytime. I'm only up for a little while. That's the E. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? I am, are y'all still there? I am disconnected. Zoe's got her friends calling her on Messenger. So let me have them to stop calling. Stop calling. I'm doing a Facebook Live. Give her a minute. Okay. So anyway, guys, sorry. So you can hear me fine. So anyway, Zoe's friends are calling there. She's trying to stay socialized so she doesn't get out in her emotions about coronavirus. So to be 6 and have friends in a social life, okay, guys? So number 1, signs of depression is, are you sleeping too much? Are you not sleeping enough? Are you sleeping too much, or are you not sleeping enough, right? So the problem with that can be if you're getting way too much sleep, and you have no reason to be tired. You know what I'm saying? So if you're sleeping and you're just like, man, I cannot get my rest. I cannot get my rest today. I can't get my rest today. Then that can be a problem. So sleeping too much. But if you're not sleeping enough, let's talk about not sleeping enough. So we have something that's naturally called our circadian rhythm. That's where you naturally start to kind of feel tired at 9 o'clock. You naturally wake up at 5 o'clock. You're like, oh my gosh, my body's just waking up at 5 o'clock every day, and I didn't do anything. I went to bed at 12 o'clock. I'm still getting up at 5. Our bodies get into this natural rhythm, but that's because we keep a schedule. So now, since school's been out for us since March 15th, March 13th, we don't have as rigorous of a schedule, right? So the schedule is not that rigorous. So therefore, we may be a little bit more relaxed on bedtimes. So you may look up and you're like, it's 10:30 and the kids are still awake. Or now to the next night, it's 12 o'clock. The kids are still awake. Put your kids on a set time, a set bedtime. Put yourself on a set bedtime. We start going down and relaxing and getting comfortable probably about 10 o'clock. We may not go to bed until 12 o'clock, but our body knows that by 10 o'clock, we're going to just start to kind of relax ourselves. So sign of depression could be that you're sleeping way too much or that you're not sleeping enough. But during coronavirus time, you may see that I'm just not sleeping enough as it is because your circadian rhythm is off. And you can probably get some melatonin over the counter. We have melatonin naturally in our bodies. And then that can help to kind of get you back on your rhythms. Hey, Pastor V. So next thing is your interest levels drastically changed, right? So, D Nice is doing Instagram, DJing, Anthony Hamilton giving these free concerts. Everybody is doing all of these amazing free things. Michelle Obama reading to children at night. Things that even if you can't get out of your house, you may find that this is interesting. That's interesting to me. I would love to log into that. I would love to look into that. However, if you're like, man, I would like to go hear some music. Now I have no interest whatsoever in doing that, and it's free, you could be depressed. So if you're sleeping too little or you're sleeping too much, or if you're not interested in things that once were very, very fun to you, and you have free access to it, then you could be depressed. So are you feeling guilty? Are you feeling way guilty? You got your stimulus check, you got your pandemic EBT money, you got your, what else are they giving out? You got your, for business owners, you got your PPP money, but you still feel such a guilt, such a burden about things that you absolutely can't control. Or if you got your unemployment and all of your bills are paid, but you still are just laden with grief that you can't rest, you can't enjoy the day. Having overwhelmed sensation of grief, that could cause you to be, that could be a symptom of being depressed. All right, let's talk about your energy level. If your energy level is low as can be, but you're getting all that sleep at night, you're getting all that sleep in the daytime, then that could be a sign of depression as well. Appetite. We're not just talking about quarantine 15. We're talking about, I'm just eating every time. I'm just emotionally eating. I see that we had 1,000 more deaths in our state. Let me just go ahead and eat. Or I'm seeing that we're having like, oh my gosh, more people that I know, they're sick, or the job market is changing, this is changing, that is changing, unemployment up this much. everything makes you, have to just emotionally eat, or everything does the exact opposite. And you like, I've lost 25 pounds in the last 6 weeks because I've stressed out. So that could be a sign of being depressed, eating too much or eating too little. And not really just feeling blah, feeling what we call, just kind of just apathetic. Like, I just don't really care one way or the other. So we said sleep can be affected. Your interest can be affected. You can have overwhelming sense of grief. Your energy can be off. Your concentration can be off. Now, we're doing some things a lot different. Like, everybody's got a Zoom meeting, and after so long, you're tired, your eyes are tired of looking. Or for especially medical professionals, we're doing all of our calls over the phone or over the video. That can be hard. Hey, Tamara. That could be hard. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really not able to concentrate. Plus, you got homeschool here. So concentration being so totally off, no matter what you do, can be an issue as well. Hey, Aaron. Welcome, welcome, welcome. When y'all get here, thanks for joining this edition of the Dr. Cree and Me Show. Make sure to leave where you're watching from. We are talking about depression and grief. We're going to talk about depression. So we are about halfway through depression. So if you're sleeping too much or too little, you don't have the interest in fun things like you used to, you are feeling way too guilty, energy is low, concentration is off, appetite is up or appetite is down, and you just dragging. Every day that we get to have another day is a blessing, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're like, okay, God, thank you for the new day. And if you can't find reason to be like kind of pepping yourself, and you dragging, and people are noticing and like, man, you just kind of dragging today, Cree, what's going on? So if any time like that, then know that can be a sign of depression. Hey, Ava. All right, so then lastly, if you are suicidal or homicidal. Now, we're not just talking about everybody in your house getting on your nerves and you just want to crawl out your skin or crawl in the closet and close the door and hide. We're talking about legit, if I had a gun right now, I would shoot you kind of feelings. We're talking about if I could have a plan, or if I had a gun, I would do this to myself, or I want to cut myself, or I want to do harm to myself. So having suicidal thoughts, having homicidal thoughts are all signs that you could be depressed. So what do we do about depression, Dr. Cree? So we look into seeking out counseling. A lot of programs are doing, a lot of people are doing discounts. Talk to your insurance. Look up Psychology Today. They have, you can put your zip code in there and find counselors and therapists in your area. Make sure to just reach out to people. Talk to your family. Talk to your friends. And if you're like checking these boxes off, like your sleep, that's me, interest, that's me, guilt, that's me, and you've checked out more about 5 or 6 of those, then you may need some medication. Talk to your primary care physician or to your therapist or your counselor and see if you can partner with them about getting started on some medication that can actually help with depression. So depression is something that's very, 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 very common, guys. And as African Americans, know that having depression and being on medicines is not a curse. That is not a sin. Okay? So, and also know that having depression, having medications, seeing a therapist is not bad at all. Jesus and therapy can coexist together. So grief is out there. So now you're having to bury your great uncles or your grandmother, and they are all the way in New York City, or they are all the way in California. And then they're letting people travel, but some places you're not able to travel to be able to be there and physically touch your relatives. So grief, how do we deal with grief during this time? How do we say goodbye when, for us, funerals are such a big tradition. We had awakes the night before. People are stopping by all the time. People are bringing eggs. People are bringing bread. People are bringing sodas. And for our heritage, funerals, and that's when the community really draws together. And that's when you really need the hug the most. You really need a hug the most during the time where you can't hug that loved one that you are missing so dearly, So we have to be inventive in the ways that you deal with your grief. So making sure that we talk to people, look up some grief counseling. Are there any Facebook groups? Are there any social groups where you can log on and talk to people virtually about what you're going through? Because I want you to know that you are not alone, okay? You're not alone in this. So there are several different stages of grief. The first one I can imagine would probably be even more heightened during this time is denial and isolation. We're already socially distanced, which makes us kind of isolated in ourselves. So now that we are socially distanced, you can't get out there and touch, but then you're in denial because maybe you're not able to see your family member in the casket. Some states have they had coronavirus, they have to be cremated. A lot of African American people are not real big on cremation. So now that's messing with us mentally, right? So you can do we can do social groups. You can do that kind of thing. You can do grief counseling. You can have a relationship with your friends and your family and say, we're going to keep each other accountable by doing X, Y, and Z. And if you're not the person that's grieving, but you have family that's grieving, make sure that you do the reaching out, especially if that person was the strong friend. Hey, Erica, if that person was a strong friend, make sure you're doing your part in reaching out and checking on them. So the first stage of grief is denial and isolation, which can be heightened during this time. The second stage is anger. Like, I'm just so mad. Why did this have to take over the world right now? Why couldn't I have just gone there and hugged my grandmother? I couldn't hold their hand. We hear countless stories about not being able to hold their loved one's hand, about the nurses, taking their own personal phones in there and letting the family members say goodbye that way. So you're taking out a lot of the intimacy that comes along and the beauty that comes along with death and dying. So you're, in denial, you're isolated, you're angry, and then you begin to bargain. Well, maybe if I had done this, right? Maybe if I had washed my hands, well, maybe they never had gone to work. Maybe they've done this and that and the third. So you get into that stage of bargaining. It can be a tough stage because you start looking for someone to blame. But everyone is given a set number of days on this earth. You have your number that you get when you're first born. You're like, okay, dude, you got 6 million days on the earth, whatever. And these are your days. Once those days are all up, they're up. And we don't like to hear that, but that's the honest truth. So we can look into who we should blame, whose fault it was, if they didn't do this, if I had done that. But save yourself a lot of heartache in saying that bargaining stage is really a heavy stage. And I'll implore you that you may not necessarily spend one day in one phase. It's not like, okay, this week is my week of having denial. This week is my week of anger. It's not that. You may be in denial today. You may be angry tomorrow. You may be isolated the next day. You may go back and forth, back and forth. Hey, Miss Amelia, you may go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So you don't there is no blueprint on teaching you how to grieve. And there's even less of a blueprint on teaching you how to grieve during the coronavirus time when you can't get to your loved ones. You can't get to the funeral. You watching it on Facebook Live, or you are just hearing about it because you can't be there. So we said bargaining. That's a real hard stage. Depression. We talked about the signs of depression already. Increase or decrease sleep. Decrease interest in things that used to be fun. Having a whole lot of guilt. Energy being low. Concentration being totally off. Appetite is up or down. Dragging around and being homicidal or suicidal. Any of those things can happen during the grief process as well. And then lastly, you get to the point of having acceptance. You get to the point of like, okay, I'm accepting that, I have to build a new normal. I have to figure out how to pick up and go on. That doesn't mean you don't miss your relatives. That doesn't mean you don't want to pick up the phone and call your friend. That doesn't mean that you don't do all of those things. It actually just means that you are saying what my new normal, this is how my new normal is going to look. So I challenge you that if you are dealing with any grief, you are dealing with any loss, make sure that you are keeping a journal. Keep a journal of how you're feeling today. This was a good day today because I actually got up and got dressed today. This was a good day today because I FaceTimed my family. This was a good day because I did X, Y, and Z. Or today really wasn't a good day because it was my loved one's birthday. It was my loved one's anniversary. All of these are things that you can do to try and find the good in life, because I'm sure that your loved one would have wanted you to leave an awesome legacy. They're leaving an awesome legacy, and they're expecting that you're going to continue to live their legacy on. So try and make sure that you have some plans in place. So I recommend grief counseling. I recommend getting a counselor, seeing a therapist. And they always say, oh, it'll take about 12 months to deal with your grief. That's not necessarily true. If you were married to someone and you live with them for 50 years, it's going to take a little bit longer than 12 months maybe to get over it. But make sure you're doing the work and attempting to get over it. So during this time, I also want to add, make sure that you are doing what you need to do to plan for the end of life. No one wants to talk about the end of life, but these people are getting, people are getting sick today and dying 2 weeks later. You know what I'm saying? They're getting sick today and dying 5 days later. So if you do not have a will, if you do not have a trust, make sure that you take the time to set these things up. Especially if you have younger kids, you want to say, well, I want my baby to go to Sally, or I may want my baby to go here. Make sure that you set up a will. Make sure you set up a trust. You do not want your family to have to go to probate court. It can take years. It can take months to do probate, to get through somebody having to go through all your stuff that's very public. It causes stress on your family. It causes all of these things to come up, things to come up that you're like, well, it had you just wrote down your needs, wrote down your wants, wrote down your concerns. Say, hey, if something happens to me, I want y'all to send me to Lynn Rollins Funeral Home, whatever your funeral home of choice is. Where do you want to be buried? Talk about these things, guys, while we're healthy, happy, and whole. So you're not having to leave your family who's already upset. They're already grieving. They're already sad. They already don't want to do this. But if you have things laid out right there, and you can say, well, I did what Mama wanted me to do. I did what Aunt Sally wanted me to do. And you can feel like you are who's left behind. We're doing a good service to her or him, whoever that's died, because we went by and did everything that they said for us to do. So that is your homework from Dr. Cree. Make sure that you have a will. Make sure you have a trust. Make sure you have an advance directive, a medical advance directive. Make sure you look into power of attorney. Do that during this time while you're up, while you're whole, while you're healthy. And that way it's not a sad time. You're just saying, I'm just doing this because I'm a planner, because I'm going to leave an inheritance. That inheritance may be sound mind. It may not be millions of dollars. It may just be that you're leaving your family with a sound mind. Okay? So I know this wasn't a real fun talk today, but I feel like it was needed. Depression is real. Depression is huge in our community. And then when you already have people that are depressed, not on treatment, or you may be on treatment, or your treatment is not optimal, and then you add that with people being taken from your life like that is the perfect storm for suicides, for homicides, for things like that, for just neglecting yourself. So make sure you do the homework, wills, estate planning, deciding what you want to do with all the things that are dear to you and are dear to your family. Because because grief is going to happen, death is going to happen. Everyone has an appointment with it. We're not going to get out of that appointment. So make sure that you have your stuff together. Okay, guys? Share this post, and then make sure if you put all this stuff together and you get yourself straight, tell your family where it is. Tell your family where all your papers are. I mean, I think my mama's in she got a file cabinet. I'm hoping hers is there. But I need to even have that conversation with my parents. My parents here now. Hey, y'all. Need to make sure to have that conversation with them to say exactly now where's your stuff, or have it saved on a locked document on your computer and everybody know the password. Do that. Make your family's life easier. Okay? Share it, share it, share it. And if you're scared to have this conversation with your family, you can blame it on Dr. Cree. So Dr. Cree said such and such and such. Dr. Cree said, Mama, you need a wheel. Dr. Cree said this. Dr. Cree said that. And I will take all the blame because we'll do anything that we can to make this an easier process. If you're having problems with being depressed, make sure you check out Psychology Today. They have where you can look up therapists in your area. Get help. Don't be afraid to get help. And know the signs of grief. There are no limits on how long you get to grieve. You grieve in your own way. Okay? And again, it's Dr. Cree. I am your board certified family medicine physician, and I help everyday people learn how to navigate this thing called life in a healthy, happy, and whole way. So I feel like when you know better, that you will do better. And I think that it's my charge to be able to help you learn things so you can live a better life. You're educated, and when you know better, you can do better. And if you guys are on YouTube, follow me on YouTube. That's Dr. Cree, DoctorKre. Follow my YouTube channel. I'm going to be transferring all my lives over to YouTube in the upcoming weeks. So I want you to be able to get my information there. You can see all of my old videos that I've done. I've been doing this show probably over the last 2 years off and on. But all of them will be there. So please hit subscribe on my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. I promise we'll have a more upbeat, funner show next week. I'll see you next Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.